Before we get
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. Before we get started, let me give you a short outline about the time, because we've just been talking about that.
Yeah.
We have an hour.
Yeah.
And like the last two times, we would take 40 minutes for the supervision, and then the last 20 minutes for questions. So everyone can ask questions and we can discuss the questions. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. And I think some time ago we said something like, I would say maximum of 5 minutes of case presentation. And maybe you can be guided by the question, what is it that you want to develop or that you want to change or that you want to learn in this supervision?
Yeah.
Would that be an idea?
Yeah. In fact, I prepared a case, and finally during the night I said, no, I'm going to change case.
Okay.
Because I had one that because just preparing the first one, I kind of resolved something. And I said, oh, I think this one might be more useful for me, but maybe another time so, okay. I don't know if I can stuck it in 5 minutes or 7 minutes. I will try. I wrote something, so it should be fast. But the question is easy, Oliver. It's kind of now my client, she has phobic reaction to take the plane and also elevator, which are new symptoms in her life. She didn't have that fear of flying. She did fly a lot in her life, and since the death of her father, that this developed, and she became much more fragile at every level. You'll understand why shortly. But the question is how it's hard for me to be consistent and even having a roadmap to resolve those phobia. So let's put it that way first, and then we'll come back, okay?
And did I get it right? She has the phobia since her father's death?
Yeah, which was in 2000, wait a minute, she came to see me 2 years ago, and it has been 5 years that her father died. But it was not resolved at all. And nothing was resolved at all. And she just tried to push it, which is her ANP, we could say, action. I'm not sure if she has a real dissociative agent.
Okay, so your first question is, how can you get some kind of a roadmap in order to help her dissolve the fear, the phobia?
Yeah, which is, but the ground of it is a much more complicated story of her infancy and everything. So I'll just shoot all that, and then we can come back and see how it manifests in the clinical situation, things like that. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So the client we'll call Sophia is a 42 years old woman of French origin from France. She lived in Quebec since 2004. Currently in a couple without children. 2 dogs. They love their big dogs. She is a dance teacher who has a dance school in contemporary dance. And she has students that come from all over the world to do the school that she does. You know, she has cohort or a group of people for 3 months, then another group, 3 months, things like that. So since the death of her father 5 years ago, something has happened to her. When she came to see me, that was the beginning. She feels a loss of meaning in her life, which leads to frequent anxieties and symptoms of anxiety disorder. At that time, I would have said mild OCD, plain phobia. Now I know she said to me last week that she has a sensor phobia too. I didn't know that. It was the only I could say, a simple phobia that she has, plane and elevator, but kind of claustrophobia that goes with that. And when she came to see me 2 years ago, she said, I fear losing control. And a health professional or doctor refer her to me. The client has a very difficult life history during her childhood, which I will talk about. So should I start with that? Maybe, yeah. And I'll come back to the way her father died, which was a terrible trauma for her. So, but I'll start from her story first. She was born at 7 months, and she had life and death issue as a fetus, a little baby. So for 3 months, she stayed in an incubator. You get it? It's okay?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me. Okay. At the moment of her death, her mother was depressed, totally depressed. Her father was a violent man with the mother, and the relationship was a mess at the time of birth. She has older sister, one of 5 years old. I'll call her A, and her sister of 8 years older. I'll call her B. So A is near my client 5 years, the other 8 years, B. At that time, the mother, when she was depressed, my client was born. It was a mess. Father alcoholic, violent with the mother. So the mother was in a mess herself and depressed, and she would send the girls to friends to take care of them, and she sent the clients to her godmother. And for as much as she can remember, she said, my client Sophia, that she thinks the godmother took good care of her with her husband in her first 3 years of life, while the couple, mother and father, were fighting and leaving each other, coming back together many times, chaotic. And finally, when my client was 3 years old, they decided to divorce. And then, without any consultation between the two, the father kind of abducted the client and her sister A, who was now 8 years old, and my client was 3 years old. And the mother kind of abducted sister B, now that was 11 years old, and went with that sister to the south of France, Marseille, while the father stayed in the north of France. I say abducted, I don't know all the details, but I think, like, for example, when she was with her father came to the godmother and said, okay, give me my girl, and they kind of leave. It was things like that. It was not with guns, or whatever.
So not an abduction in a criminal sense necessarily.
Exactly, yeah, well said, exactly that.
So the mother could have taken some actions to get the girls back, and vice versa. They weren't in hiding.
I don't know
or in
all
a
the
different
details,
country.
but it was a context of chaos. So the mother, I think she took the 11-year-old, said, come on, let's go. We go in south of France. I don't know the exact details of how all this happened. So my client Sophia, she lived with the father, with sister A, which is 5 years older than her. She lived with them till she was 13 years old. So let's see how it go with them. The father was alcoholic. He could be verbally very violent. She said he didn't touch her sexually or physically being violent, but verbally he was so terrifying that she would pee in her pants when he was yelling. I think it was a big guy. And when he was angry, he could deprive the kids from food to punish them, things like that. Very cruel in a sense.
Okay.
Other time, he was very affectionate and considerate. And he's the one who saw that she likes to dance as a young girl and encourage her. What happened also is that he met another woman that had 2 children, and they all lived together. And that woman was not kind at all with Sophia. because she finds Sophia was fragile physically, did not speak very much, introvert, and she had problem with food, could not eat meat, was vomiting sometime. I think it's maybe a little trauma related to. Also because she got lice from school, you know, fleas in her head.
Oh, yeah.
So the mother, she would shave her head totally. Sophia felt very lost in all that, you know, having lost her mother too.
So she
Because
really
from
had a
three,
very chaotic, troubling
yeah, yeah, from three
time.
to six, there was no contact with her biological mother at all.
Okay, okay.
So we can imagine that she felt lost. Sometime
Was she in treatment before
I will
or
tell you,
now?
it will come, it will come. Not as an infant, no. She was in adolescent.
In an
Let me
adolescent.
just finish the big portrait of, is it okay?
Yeah, let's have a look at the time because I'd appreciate us having enough time to discuss the case.
Yeah, but I think it will. It's just 2 minutes. Give me
Right,
2 minutes.
right.
Okay. So from 3 to 7, there was no contact with her biological mother. Oh yeah, I was to say that, you know, that surrogate mother or the wife, second wife of her father, she asked Sophia to call her mama, but Sophia said she was not able to do that. She tried sometime for a few days, then she didn't feel okay. So like I said, there was no contact with her biological mother. Then she used legal procedure to have the right to see her two other daughter. She was then in Marseille with another man who was wealthy. So from 7 to 13, she visited her mother, who was denigrating always the father, who was, when she came back to the father, discrediting the mother, etc., etc. At 13, her sister, which was now 18, decided to leave home to enter college and said to the biological mother that she was scared to leave Sophia alone with father and that other woman. So mother used a legal procedure, and that's another big trauma for her, and bring Sophia when she was at her home for a moment. She bring her to a lawyer who said, okay, now you're at an age to choose. Do you want to stay with your father or go with your mother? And you have to decide now. And it was terrible because it said nobody can give you any advice. Choose now. So she said it was a terrible moment, and she cried when she talked to me about that in her first meeting. And she said she chose to leave her father and go with her mother, that whom she didn't knew very much. And her father was very angry toward her and didn't speak to her for the next 14 years. He spoke to her when she came in Canada at the age of 27. And at that moment, the father decided to try to come back with the mother because it was going bad with his wife. The mother was ambivalent, saying he was the love of her life. She loved her and that her new husband, the wealthy one, she loved him like a good dog. But the real passion was the father. So I finished with that. And in adolescent years with the mother, it was very difficult, and she was anorexic. Then she went to see a psychologist. The psychologist said to her mother to stop because the mother was very dramatic and always bringing back to herself, things like that. And my client said at 16, she understood that she had to take her own life in hand. So she went full throttle into dance. And at 25, 27, she left to come in Canada and to work as a dancer, things like that.
Okay.
So that's the situation.
Okay.
When the father died, after being diagnosed with a self-immune disease, because the doctor thought it was cirrhosis that he had, but it was not that. It was, so he went to Spain for the last 2 years of his life. Sophia was called as his bed as he was losing his head. She arrived by plane, and 24 hours later he was dead in horrible circumstances. There was a lack of resources in the Spain hospital. She took care of him, and there was hemorrhagic blood release, defecation. She was alone with him, her hands covered with all that, trying to take care of him. Very disturbing experience. She took the plane back, and then she started having kind of panic attack in the plane.
Okay.
Okay. So during the just to let you know, I've seen her for 2 years now, and it helped her to process what happened with the father.
Okay.
We identify a part of her that I identify at the second interview. I said, "You have that little smile. What is that?" And it was.
Do you mean part in the sense of dissociative agent, or
I'm
part
not
rather in
sure.
the sense of mode?
I'm so not good at telling you that.
Well, that's fine. Sometimes it takes time to find out, but so at least we can
Certainly as
know
a
that.
mode. Yeah, certainly as a mode. That's for sure, because I could relate to her. She was like a rebel adolescent. That's the one who said, "Go all fuck yourself. I'm leaving to Canada."
Okay.
And
So
and she's very strong in that, very determined.
Yeah.
And
maybe that's something that kept her alive, because I was wondering, listening
exactly.
to you and all these very disturbing details, all these chaotic circumstances, how this woman managed to make a living. And so she has a job, she has a qualified job, she lives in a relationship. So she must have some resource to keep her alive. And that could be it, that she has a mode or part that can say, fuck you, I do what I need to do now.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're nodding a lot, so you experience that when you talk to her.
Yeah, and I made sure to say to that part that it was great that she was there, that part. But I could suspect or think that there might be other parts of her that are much more vulnerable.
Yes.
And our work would evolve with all that, things like that.
Yeah. Apparently there are. I think we can agree on that. And even if we don't know if they are parts in the dissociative sense or parts in the sense that we use as a metaphor, but at least she has fragile modes, one or more. Otherwise, she wouldn't have this phobic problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly.
Okay. What is her aim in treatment? What does she want to reach?
The first aim was to, because when she came to see me 2 years ago, she really felt lost, in sense of loss of meaning.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of solved. She got back to herself.
How did she manage that? Because I was wondering when I was listening to you, because it's all so chaotic and there was no real orientation. She was with the father, then with the mother, but never in a regulated context. So how did she manage to create or recreate a sense of meaning? How did she do that?
Okay, that's a nice question. I think the therapy relationship was very useful to her, and she would say that. And I was respectful of her different modes when she was shifting a little bit. Then I use EMDR for a few sessions to process the moment with the father, the blood and things. And it went quite okay as far as I remember. There was no kind of dissociation of I think, but if I would, if we talk again, I might check it more. I don't remember exactly. So that was a good thing. And then talking about what happened in her life, because with her school, they had many things with her husband. They're not married, but it's a very good relationship for her. I mean, they're really connected together, and he's managing the school for her, the administrative part of it, even if he has a job also. So he's a good help for her, and they have that dynamic. She always feared that he will leave her, but he too feared that. So they're kind of, but
So she's regained this orientation or this
yeah,
sense of meaning through your relationship, through successful work with the EMDR, and maybe also her relationship with her husband. Does she
and we
still have?
started to make sense of her story too, together. You know,
Right,
she's
right, okay. And
because
where's she now? What is she
where she now
still suffering
she's
from, and where does she want to
yeah.
go?
She what happened is that during those 2 years there was the pandemic too, I think. Yeah, necessarily. And one curious thing, uh, there's parts of her that I would say, in terms of the inactive approach, that have very strong longing toward the father.
Yeah.
Because when I asked her at the first interview, what was your relationship with your father, she will say, and she said very simply, it was, wait a second, conflictual and passionated.
Yeah.
But the same passion is there for her sisters too. Same thing. So for example, during the pandemic, one of her sister became diagnosed as very depressive, suicidal. She was hospitalized many times. And she would be always there talking with her sister for long hours. Incredible. And
Let's assume we could ask her now at this moment.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we would ask her, what do you suffer from now in this
She would say the
situation?
phobia. The
The
phobia.
phobia. And would
And
she
also,
say something else, or would she say it's
yeah,
only the
she would
phobia?
the phobia, but she would say also, because now that's why they take the plane. They're going to go back to France for the first time since the
Yes.
pandemic.
Yeah.
And in fact, their project, because her husband has a house on Corse Island, you know, Corse Island near France, Corse,
Yeah.
la Corse,
Yeah.
yeah, Corsica, or
In German, it's Corsica. Yeah.
yeah. And so they were thinking, because she said now her mother is sick and she has to be placed in an old person place. And the family dynamic, it's crazy, still crazy. You know, the mother, she's really not present to
And
anybody.
would she actually say my only problem is the phobia?
No, she would say the relationship with my family of origin.
Okay.
And the problem is that even if she left,
because you know,
her heart,
I'm sticking to this question
yeah,
because when we look at it from the inactive approach, you've already used the term longing. Longing is, as you know, a core concept in this approach. Then I think in treatment we should have, if possible, we should have an idea what the patient's longing is. And the longing in therapy has to do with symptoms, of course. And so one of the longings is to overcome the phobia. That's understandable.
Yeah.
Okay. Does she also have a longing to overcome the problems that she might experience with her family history or with the current family situation?
We could say it like that. Maybe she has a longing to resolve the many-stranded ambivalence.
Yeah.
Her sisters and mostly with her mother. She loved her two sisters without question, even if there are ambivalence into that, because it's complicated. One of the sisters was with the mother, the other with the father. They have strange things into that. Toward the mother, she almost ate her, I think I could say. She doesn't have affectionate feeling for her mother. I would say she has 20% and 80% that is her mother is aversive for her.
Yes.
And she is. She really is. And up.
Yeah. There was a noise. I don't know what it was.
So she, but she said,
so
I could ask her, for example, so why do you want to go back to France? Yeah, sorry.
Can you hear me? Can you be the client for a few minutes?
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
because I'd like to get a, how can I
Yeah,
say,
good
a
idea.
feeling.
Okay.
And I don't know where this is going, but maybe we can just assume we start a session.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
Jean-Pierre and you are
Hi. Okay.
Sophia, or what her name was. Yeah.
Yeah. Sophia. Okay.
Sophia.
So, okay.
Okay, I would say, okay, hi, Sophia. Here we are.
Hi.
Hi. Okay.
I'll,
I wonder.
I'll put my computer so you can see the posture, I think, too.
Okay.
Maybe. So she, not too far. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So she's like that, a little rebel.
Okay. Hi, Sophia.
Hi.
Hey, what are we going to do today?
Well, as I told you, I still had this week the palpitation.
Yeah.
I wake up at night
Yes.
and there's a pounding, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And it's disturbing.
Yeah.
And like I told you before, I went to see the doctor. They made tests. I have nothing.
Yeah.
But it makes me
So it's
very.
nothing physical.
It's not physical.
It's not physical, no.
And
what is it?
it's like a thumping in my boom, 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 and it makes me anxious. What's going to happen.
There's a thumping and it makes you anxious.
Yeah, and as I told you, that fear of the plane that we're taking in May, which is coming. It's coming. So
you just had your fist on your chest. Can you put it back? Okay. Yeah. When you have your fist there, maybe you can experience what's underneath.
I don't like that.
No, of course you don't. Okay. No. Okay. Suggestion. Stay right there. If possible, stay right there. Leave your hand where it is. Experience what's underneath and experience that you don't like it. Can you do that?
I can try.
Yeah, and I think I can see you're doing it. Okay, keep going.
I don't like it. No.
No, you don't like it. Experience that you don't like it.
I hate it.
Exactly. And as you experience that you hate it, you might even experience what it is.
Can you explain more?
Yeah, what is it that you hate?
Oh, I hate that I'm so like I feel vulnerable in that and fragile and weak. Yes. I hate that.
Well, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
You hate it and you feel it at the same time. Yes. And you might go there a bit more. And you can still hate it, that's okay. Experience a little bit of the fragility.
Yeah, it's the big loneliness also.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yes. Oh, wow. What happened? Oh, you went out. There must have been a reason. What was it?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of afraid of that. Don't like it.
Right.
Or it's too much or.
Right.
Like you told me that. I think you told me last week or the week before that I might be phobic of my sensation, and it's true. I see that when the thumping and there's it's like the fear of losing control that I told you.
Exactly. And I so understand that it's hard to stay there and that you're so afraid of it. And you know, if you want to, you can listen to me a little bit and you can keep your eyes open if that's easier. You know, because when I see a grown-up woman sitting there, and at the same time I see a little girl being abducted by the father, not having contact with the mother, going back to the mother. You know, and I could keep on and on, and you,
Stop.
yeah.
You say I'm not good at that, but
no, well, maybe the task is just extremely difficult. I so understand that it's so hard for you to stay there. And I believe that when
I appreciate at the same time, I know there's all that in me.
Yeah.
I can't look at it.
Okay, I have another suggestion. Is that okay?
But it resonates, what you said, it resonates, but it's kind of too much.
Okay, so don't look at it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do that sometime later. Maybe there's something we can do now together.
Okay.
Yeah. We can say to that which is there, you are there.
You are there.
All right, do it. And whatever is there, you can hear what the big one is telling you. You are there. You exist. Right. Take a deep breath. Or maybe you have a few ideas what else you could say. I have a few ideas, but maybe you have better ideas.
When you said you are there and I said it, there's a movement inside. I think I felt some kind of rage.
Right. Feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Jean-Pierre, talking to
So
you again.
I'm lost in my.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. We could have gone on, but I thought it could
No,
be
but I
good.
get the idea. Yeah, it's interesting. So we can talk about that, what you did. And I think it's a very good suggestion, and I'll need to talk with you about how I could do that, which isn't my repertory of things to do. It's okay for me. It's not a far out thing. Did I try to be very minute by minute attuned? I might have, I think. So I'm trying to just let comes in me the way she reacted that made me stop doing it. You know, it's like there's something, and that's, I think, where I need supervision too. But the idea is very nice. It's like something in our relationship makes me
And
withdraw.
What's that?
Yeah, that's what I'm. Is it the fear of? I think it's truly what I did try to play in the role play, which was there's a moment where I see her despair in it's like I don't want to make her suffer or something like that.
Okay,
A-
that makes
And
sense.
and and or maybe also maybe a kind of a fear that her ANP or the 16 years old, I don't know if it's the same truly. Sometimes I think it's kind of the same, but well, it's a controlling part, it's a protective part, the solid, determined, that she might break down, you know, when she accesses the other parts. So that's why I liked your idea very much. Just to say this, I never did that, saying,
Yeah.
can we tell that we know there's somebody there? So was it the thing you said? There's some
Yes,
not something.
And when I suggested it, I had in mind that the approach needed to be limited, because with this history, it could be too much for this woman. At the same time, I think there's no other way. She has to approach the parts or the modes or her history, and because if she doesn't, she will have the symptoms forever, probably.
Okay.
And then when saying that, I think she's had a very, very difficult relationship with her father. She didn't really have a father. And she has a longing toward father, which can be this particular father person or father in general.
Yeah.
So I believe that in a way, you can assume this role a little bit. When you say, come on, let's do it. You can do it. I'm with you. I help you.
Okay.
You can hold my hand, but not to run away. You can hold my hand and we do this together. Small steps, right? Okay, they shouldn't be too big, but steps.
Yeah.
And that way she can, you said one of the things that helped was your relationship. And I think that's true.
Sure.
You can use it more.
Okay.
I think in a way to, well, to be a bit more demanding, not much. I don't have the impression that she has a personality disorder or something like that.
Yeah.
My impression is that she really wants to go.
Yeah.
So it's not demanding, is not the right word. It's more like encourage her a little more in a fatherly fashion.
Yeah.
That's a bit what I tried to do here. I have a suggestion. Okay, do that. Yeah. With your knowledge of the woman, does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's funny, I kind of feel sad, you know, so yeah. There was a moment where she would describe, you know, when she was learning dance, and you know, there was kind of a little sexual molestation from teachers, things like that, and it was so sad, you know, that in top of all the way they would use that,
and I believe on the one hand it's very valuable that you feel so much compassion for her. On the other hand, I allow myself to say, be careful with that.
Yeah.
Try not to be too compassionate. She needs something like a good father, but she also needs something like a good coach.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And I think she needs someone who's willing and able to go through the pain with her.
So would you, if I let my thinking go even more concretely, imagining her tonight, because she come at 6:30 at 6 to so that's why I said, yeah, good. For example, because one of her, there's the thumping, I could ask her right there and do exactly what she did. So this is one thing I could do. If she doesn't come with that, and she comes with the phobia of the plane, because now it's coming, they buy the ticket. Could it be something to do, like to make her imagine going to the plane, and when she start to feel the fear, just to be right there with her and say, stay there? But because so this is also a conceptual or clinical question. Do you want, in that inactive approach, do we want to treat it as it's kind of an exposure, but it's not just that. It's in fact searching for the little girl or whatever is there, that was, I think, that became reactivated with what happened with her father. And so it's not just a pure phobia of plane, because she said that she did take plane all her life. It was all of a sudden that it did happen. So what do you think of that? Maybe also how could
Actually,
it?
I pretty much doubt there's such a thing as a plane phobia.
Okay. Yeah.
I rather believe that it always has a deeper meaning. Even though in my training, I was trained not to say what I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
still, I can't
You don't
evade
go with
this.
behavioral
I don't go with it anymore. No, I would say
way of
something
seeing.
like phobia, panic, and stuff like that is always a sign of something like a system breakdown. It's too much.
It's
She
too
can't
much.
handle it anymore.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That
And
makes, I
there has
like that.
been so much chaos. So, I mean, it's admirable that she managed to become 42 years old and get so
Yes.
many things done. It's only understandable that at some point the system just breaks down.
Yeah.
And there's no danger in a plane.
Yeah.
But she cannot be on this adult level, on this high mental level anymore, and realize, no, I'm in a safe environment. So I would say it's a bit like it's
No,
all
that's
too much.
interesting. It makes
I'm
me,
alone. I can't handle it. It's chaotic. I have no orientation. So, and maybe I can say two more sentences, and then I would like to give the others chances to ask questions or to make comments.
Sure.
Okay, when she needs to fly, then she has an urgency to do something about the fear. I understand that, but maybe it's possible to help her realize what inside her has the fear. And maybe she can identify something like a small mode or part, because we still don't know, is she really dissociative or not? That's why I'm a bit cautious with words here. But we can assume that there is something young inside of her that is just overwhelmed with everything. And maybe with your help, she as an adult can become better at taking care of the little one.
Yeah.
And then find things to soothe the little one while she's on the plane.
Yeah.
And that's very preliminary what I'm saying, because it's a complicated matter and maybe it's urgent and she needs some kind of solution. But I would rather go this way than to do something general phobia related, like go into an elevator and make an exposure.
She's going to have her dog with her, because I signed a paper for the couple that each one will have her dog with them. So so they have to. So each dog has his own seat.
But I think
this
dog is a solution to everything.
No, but it could be interesting that she might feel the little hand of her little child inside touch the dog, and I don't know. We'll see. I could maybe use that. We'll see. Or maybe it will go just okay, but I get the sense of what you just, can you repeat just the question, the way you phrase it? I like it. You said, what as the fear, or what is the way you phrase it was, what is it
inside of her that is fearful or that is anxious? Like in dissociative terms, which part of you feels the fear and which part of you needs to be taken care of?
Okay.
Right? Okay. Thank you so much for all your openness and for engaging in this role play. I think that was very rich and very valuable. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you too. Yeah.
Right, everybody. I'm curious, and I can imagine Jean-Pierre is curious too. Anything you would like to share or discuss, or any questions? Can you agree? Or have you other ideas? Because it was very full of detail. I think one could have said a lot about the whole case. So if there's anything, any ideas that you have, please feel free to tell us.
Please help me, help me.
Well, I'm very extrovert, so I'll take the lead in a question. I was wondering, what kind of dance does she do?
Contemporary
Oh, that
dance.
makes sense, because the way you made her sit was very not like a classical dancer. So I was like,
No,
it
no,
only
she's not
makes
like
sense
now.
if she
She's
is a
not.
modern dancer.
Yeah, she's a modern dancer,
Okay.
and then she's yeah, modern
Well, it would
dancer.
have just struck me as very like, why would she sit like that if she's a dancer, like classic? No
Yeah,
other.
but I think she did some classic when she was when she was young. She did some classic, and then she changed to modern. But she's not your usual very anxious ballet dancer, you know.
No. It makes sense if she was a modern dancer, but it wouldn't have
Okay,
made sense if she was a classic dancer.
I understand. Right. Thank you.
I wouldn't have noticed that. Henrik, you're muted.
Yeah. Sorry. Jean-Pierre, to be honest, I couldn't grasp the whole story you told me. I think it's very complicated, and the relationship between her and her parents is sometimes a bit confusing. But I asked myself, what kind of symptoms did she have? Because you told us that she was helpless, and she is hopeless, and she felt a lot of despair. But did she have some kind of flashbacks or other symptoms indicating that she has at least a PTBS or other things? Because maybe you could make it a bit more clear whether she had some kind of parts in her symbolizing this little girl.
Yeah, I know she had flashback, and at the beginning of seeing her, she had flashback of what happened with her father at the hospital in Spain. It was very, and the blood and everything. About her childhood, there's not so much. She has memories, but in fact, I have the kind of feeling that she's instead of feeling all that did happen, she's still trying to change it with the relationship with her mother and her sister. It's still happening. Something is, that's why I said at the beginning, the longing. So, and that makes her, she has kind of her 16 years old, very determined woman now. And the vulnerability, instead of feeling it, she tried to change things. So she take care of her sister, the mother, and there's acting out between all of them, you know. They will shout at each other, or it goes into action, I would say, you know, instead of remembering, like Freud says a long time ago. It's like, it's still happening. And, but I mean, it's like the longing is still happening, but the failure of all the little longings that are striving that she had as a child, all this failing was traumatized. Like when she said she pees as a little kid, you know, when her father was, she doesn't seem to have flashback of those, you know.
Can
Still,
I say something?
yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
it brings up an idea what you say, because you say if I got it right, she's still trying a lot to change the situation, and
Yeah.
probably she's been doing that all her life. I think this could be a path in her therapy to feel or to realize. I mean, it's a striving. So to realize the striving that she's engaging in, to realize the longing behind it, and I mean realize really in a full sense, in experiential
in
sense.
generous sense, yeah.
Yeah, and then to realize the failure, to realize that she failed in a way, which she is not to be blamed for, because it was something that she couldn't achieve. But I don't know the English word for Misserfolgshandlung, which is another term of Chinese. It's the action of failure or something like that, which means to realize I have failed. I can't get it. I can't make it.
That is absolutely right. And I don't know if, did I answer okay, Enric, for what you were asking?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sophia.
Okay.
Thank you.
And but it's totally true. In fact, my feeling is that her desire to, because herself and her husband, she really wanted to move back to Europe, but recently they decide not, which is a big move. And then she started having a funny thing, that a new symptoms that came was she started thinking about an old boyfriend, which was very mean to her, very like her father, we could say. She was very addicted sexually to him, but he was very narcissistic and not a good man for her. But she started being very, very preoccupied and dream of him. So, and we work on that for a session or two, and then it left. She said last time, she said, no, I don't think about him anymore. But you see, it's all in the context of her, because when her husbands, you know, they go to live in Portugal or France, but with the situation, international situation, maybe the best is to stay here, you know, because her school is there. They have it's all a set, and it's working very well. She has clients from all over the world. They come every session, and but I think for her, it's exactly in the sense you're saying, Oliver. It's like she does not want to stop the longing of trying to fix things, which she will not be able.
Yes,
it's not possible.
I believe that in the process, I would try to reduce things, because you are able to give a lot of details about her, and that could mean that she gave them to you before. And that could be a kind of avoidance. And that's what people sometimes do. They think a lot about what can I do and which plane to take and whatever. And like I did it in the process with you, I would probably try to reduce it to, okay, you feel it, stay with that, experience what's there. Because otherwise it can become very confusing also for you. Because as we say in German, sometimes it's hard to see the forest because of all the trees, you know? And it could be a situation like that. Okay.
It makes me think of when her sister was in the psychiatric hospital. She would call her and leave help, you know, do something for me. I'm going to kill myself, things like that. And she would be, and I did stop her at the moment and say, you know, how does it make you feel? And stay with that. And what is the longing? You know, I was kind of not saying those words, but kind of, what are you trying to? And she said, oh, that's when she said, I have passions for my sister, you know, I loved it so much. But
so maybe you can do more of that. You've done it before, it was successful. I'd say try more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all preliminary because I don't know the woman, you know her much better, but that would be my idea.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Oliver. It was very, very...
You're welcome. I still have a comment or a question.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sure. Ingrid.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, I hope to say it well in English. As you played, as you was in the role play, I felt that she invites you to talk about her symptoms. And as Oliver did, he is more with the symptoms. And perhaps this was the way to go with her, I felt. As Oliver did this, she felt it, you felt it very much, and you go a step forward, I felt.
Sure, absolutely. Very
And
good.
actually, that was one of the main reasons why I suggested doing a role play.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just exactly like you said.
Yeah.
There was a lot talking about symptoms, and I thought it would be better to experience
Feel,
them.
yeah. Going experiential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I can.
Schwierig, um dann etwas, was früher passiert ist, um das wieder.
Somebody's talking.
I can't mute people, Kirana. You need to do it. Thank you.
Maybe I can add something. I wasn't prepared to say anything here, but now I'm here and I can at least try. So Oliver, you asked if we share what you did or what you felt or your suggestions, and I would really like to say that I totally share your suggestions and what you did, and at the same time it's like an invitation for you or to you, Jean-Pierre, to maybe to dare to be more in the moment. I know that you gave us a lot of information, and then you were like searching for a concept. How can I deal with a phobia? It's dealing with symptoms. Well, we don't talk now about what is a symptom and what does it mean. But so the invitation is to be in the moment and to do the. We can use this metaphor because she's a dancer. So the therapeutical dance with her, and maybe you share with her a phobia for grave emotions, and the invitation is to be there and to be strong for her in the sense Oliver suggested, to be a father, but not by trying to saving her from severe and very deep and hard emotions, but to be there for her, encouraging her. So it's exactly what you said, Oliver, and I said yes, that's a really good suggestion, and we could all see how good it worked in your role play. And maybe one idea, only an idea you can maybe work with, the temporary dance is or what she chose for dancing. It's so important, I think, because you have to have total body control when you do this kind of movements, and then in the next moment you have to let go completely. So it looks like a little bit chaotic, but it's total, everything is totally under control, and maybe you can work with this metaphor too, and maybe she's able, she can see it as a resource because she fears to lose control over her emotions, and her body shows her that she's able to have a lot of control of what is happening, and I think it's a very good metaphor for working with her.
Very interesting. Yeah, thank you, Isabel. It's a very nice suggestion. Yeah, and I will use it because, like you said, she knows how to do that at a certain level of things. She knows how to have control while be totally releasing everything and be creative and whatever, expressing.
And it's not like in ballroom dances where you need a lot of control, but then those who see you dancing see that there is a lot of control and everything looks like a choreography. And in contemporary, it's like having a lot of control, but then finally it looks like a little bit chaotic, and maybe it's kind of reenacting her life. So the struggle against control and being spontaneous and losing control. So maybe
Very nice, yeah. Good idea.
The view of a dancer.
You do dance too.
Yes.
Okay, that's why, yeah.
I was
Very-
hoping you would say something about the dance because I couldn't.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say something because I snuggled in here.
Sure, sure. Yeah, you have that experience in yourself. You know how it is. Great.
Great. Yeah. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver. Thank you, everybody. It was very nice, and I'm looking forward to see my client now, Sophia,
I'm quite confident I
and dance
will
with her.
do something about it. Yes, and dance with her. Yeah. 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 Thank you, Jean-Pierre, for being so open and for being so active in the role play. That was really great and very rich. And yeah, I really enjoyed this hour. Thank you very much, everybody, and see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.